morning, Energy Express. It's me, your pal Joel, and welcome to week 4. Do you like to go out and look at the stars? Do you want to learn more about stars? Do you want to do a really cool nighttime star activity? Well, let's go to our friend Emma and learn more. Emma!
Hello, my name is Emma Gardner, and I'm the WVU 4-H Extension Agent here in Roane County. One fun fact about me is that I love space. In fact, at my previous job, I used to tour around schools giving star talks in a pop-up planetarium. A planetarium is a big dome-shaped screen that a projector can project stars and movies onto. One of my favorite things to talk about in the planetarium was constellations. So if you've never heard of a constellation before, what it is that our ancestors would look up at the stars at night and they would see shapes in them. Have you ever looked up at a cloud and imagined that it was a shape, like a dog or a cat? I definitely have. And our ancestors would do that with the shapes of the stars. So they would see all kinds of things. And the Greeks in particular, the ancient Greeks, would look at them and they would apply the shapes of the constellations to their mythology. So this is a really nifty thing that you can look up and learn all about constellations in the night sky here in West Virginia. So the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to make our own map to the stars with a star wheel. So first thing you need to do is you need to go to this website, which is tinyurl.com/capital E, and then lowercase star wheel. This has a star wheel that you can print out yourself. So once you print it out, it kind of looks like this. So you've got the star wheel, and then you should have 2 of these, which has the star map. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut out your star wheel. Now, I printed my star wheel on kind of thick paper, which should help you, if you have it, to give yourself something good that will be sturdy. So I already started cutting it out, and I'm going to finish it. So real quick, and we can keep talking about it. So star wheels are something that you can use to look at the stars. So do you guys see the circle here? We don't want to cut through to cut it out. So what I'm going to do, so I'm gonna fold it in half and just pinch in one spot. I'm gonna cut a line with my scissors. So by the way, if you are younger, you're gonna need a parent's help when it comes to cutting out these star maps. So I'm gonna use this to cut out this circle. It'll take just a minute. So this is gonna be the window for our star map. So give me just a moment. And as I'm cutting it, I want to show you guys, do you see these times around here? So the top of our star map is covered in times starting at 6 p.m. and ending at 6 a.m. So what do those times have in common with each other? Well, at some point during the year, those times are dark, right? So not during summer, it's not dark at 6 p.m. during summer, or 6 a.m. for that matter. But definitely during winter it can be dark, which means that these are good times to see the stars. So I'm gonna keep cutting. So we have that together now, and you guys can see my little window where we'll look at our stars. So the next thing I wanna point out is, do you see these dotted lines? So these are where you're going to fold to make your star wheel viewer. So I'm just gonna fold these real quick. So you guys can see, 1 tab folded, 2 tabs folded, woo, and 3 tabs folded. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull these outside tabs outside, and I'm just gonna tape these down with a little bit of Scotch tape. So which I have right here. So I'm just taping these down. You can, of course, use glue instead of tape if you prefer it. I do not. Tape is easier and faster. So here we have our window. So the next thing that we would do is that we would cut out our little star map circle. Luckily, I already cut one out. So I want to show this to you guys really quickly. So do you guys see this star map? So if you look along the top, you see that they have months and dates, right? So that is something that's really interesting. You can also see all of the constellations all over this. So these are these line shapes. So these all equate to different things. So Cygnus, for instance, which you guys can see is a swan. Cassiopeia here, she's a queen sitting in a throne. What else do we have? Oh, we also have all of the astrology, which are your birth signs, right? The zodiac. So if we look, there's Pisces, which are 2 jumping fish. There's Aquarius, which is a person who's got like a jug of water and they're pouring it out into a river. There's Capricornus, which is a goat mermaid, if you believe it. There's Sagittarius, which is a centaur, with a bow and arrow. There's Scorpius, which is a scorpion. There's Libra, which is a balance. There's Virgo, who's a lady. There's Leo, who's a lion, and if you look at that one, you can really see it looks kind of like a lion lying down. There's Cancer, who's a crab. There's Gemini, which is my birth sign, and they're the twins, and you can see their names are Castor and Pollux. You can see they look like 2 little guys holding hands. Where's Taurus? There's Taurus. So Taurus is a bull, so you can see his horns. And then Aries is a ram. So that's all of the zodiac, so you can go around and spin and see that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this in here, and this is our star map. Now let me show you guys. You remember that I said that there were times going around here and then also dates going around the circle? So all you do to figure out what the map is gonna look like tonight is you look at the date and then you spin it and set it to the time. So if we wanted to look at the date on July 4th, say, and while we're watching fireworks, maybe we also want to stare up at the stars, what we would do is we would spin to where July is, and we would find July 4th, which is right here, right before the 5th, which is kind of blurry. And what we would do is we're going to say I'm watching fireworks at around 9 p.m. So I would just line up the 9 p.m. with the July 4th. And then this is what our constellations will be out on July 4th. So there's one more thing that I want to point out. So do you guys see Ursa Minor on here? Right there, right? So Ursa Minor is the little bear, which we'll talk a little bit about later. It's also the Little Dipper, see? But the cool thing about Ursa Minor is that this star right on the very tip of the tail is very important. And that's because this star is the North Star. So if you look at my star wheel, and if I start to spin it and you look right at the tail there, you can see that the very tip of the tail stays in the same place. That's because it always points north and it's located directly above our North Pole. So that's a really nifty thing. And sailors and our ancestors back in ancient times have used these stars for years and years in order to find their way. So that's really cool. So this is a star map. So the next thing I want to talk about is a little art project that you can do at home where you can make your own constellations out of a few things that you should be able to find around your house. So the first thing you will need is mini marshmallows. And then the second thing you need, you can either use those little tiny pretzel sticks if you want to be able to eat this, or because I couldn't find pretzel sticks, I'm going to use dry spaghetti noodles. And what we're going to do is we're going to make our own constellations. So why don't we make a constellation of the Little Dipper, since it's so important? So what I suggest doing is you can look up on the internet, you can find different pictures of constellations, and I found a really good resource for this. And this resource is called dkfindout.com/us/space/constellations. And they have a ton of different constellations that you can look at. You can learn the names of the stars in these constellations. You can also learn a little bit about the mythology, which is really awesome. So let's find the one that I printed out for the Little Dipper. So this is what it looks like. So I said that the Little Dipper was also Ursa Minor, which is the little bear. So you guys know that there's the Little Dipper and there's the Big Dipper. But their names are also Ursa Minor and Ursa Major. So we look at this star right here is Polaris, which is the North Star. So if you remember, when we spin the time around and we spin our map, always Ursa Minor stays in the same place. well, the tail of Ursa Minor, Polaris, I should say. So we're gonna make this. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna think about it. So we have marshmallows and we have spaghetti noodles. So looking at our constellation, which one do you think make up the stars? The marshmallows, of course. So let's count our marshmallows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 marshmallows. So I'm gonna count that out of our bag. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now I have my 7 marshmallows, and then I'm gonna grab a couple of my dry spaghetti noodles. Grab 3 of them, right? And now, the last thing you need is a piece of paper. I tried to find a black piece of paper to be more like the sky, and unfortunately, all I could find was this blue one. But that's okay. It's close enough to the night sky, right? So, we're gonna look at our picture, and we're gonna see what we need to do. So we need to start out by making this square here, right? So how many marshmallows does that have in it? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm gonna start by making that. So the very first thing I'm gonna do, because this stick is way too long to fit on that piece of paper, is I'm going to break it. I'm gonna break it for each of our marshmallows. So we're gonna start, and we're gonna put 2 marshmallows on this to represent the 2 bottom stars in our constellation. So there's 2. Next, we're gonna do the 2 top stars. So we need to break another spaghetti noodle. So boop, broke that. And we're gonna combine our 2 marshmallows on that. Then we just need to put them together. So I'm gonna break another, put it on, and we're gonna break one more to be the other side. And we're gonna combine it till we have my square, right? Which I guess I should spin it this way. So that's what we got first. Next thing we need to do is we need to make our tail, which has 3 marshmallows in it. So I guess, and it's also, if we're thinking about it as a little dipper, it's also the handle of the ladle, right? So I grabbed 3 marshmallows for this. I'm just gonna slowly break off marshmallows and put them together. So now we just need one more little stick. This is what's left. I'm just gonna put that on there. So finally, we need to combine these 2 pieces, right? Whoop, I broke that, but that's okay. So there we go, and we're just gonna put them together. So the very last thing we're gonna do is, I said you guys needed a piece of paper, so we're just gonna combine it. And we're gonna put it on our piece of paper, and we're gonna tape it down. Boop. I wanna make sure I have it facing the right direction. So I'm just gonna take my Scotch tape again, and I'm gonna tape it in a couple of places. Which I know you can't see, but it's not that exciting, I promise. Just taping it down. Boop. So, you guys can see, I now have a constellation taped to a piece of paper, right? And they match pretty well. So, what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna write Ursa Minor, which is the name of the constellation. And then I'm gonna write or the Little Dipper. See? And the very last thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I label this very important star, Polaris. So I'm going to put an arrow to it, and I'm going to write Polaris. So you guys can see how important that is. So that is Ursa Minor, the Little Dipper. So you can see here, this is the handle of the Little Dipper, and then this is the ladle part, or the cup. So that is the Little Dipper, and you guys can do this at home by going to that website, or just Googling some different constellations. I think that they have all of the zodiac constellations on the website. I want to show you, I made a much more complicated constellation. So I put together this constellation, which is Pegasus, which is the winged horse, and I also labeled some of the stars. So this is Enif, and this one is Algenib, and Markab, and also the square here, which is pretty easy to find if you're ever looking up during the summer. This is called the square, the Great Square of Pegasus. So it's one of the easy ones to find. And I like Pegasus because it does kind of look like a horse, right? So if you use your imagination, this looks like the head, and these look like 2 galloping arms, right? Or legs, I guess, not arms. So, and I can show you also the print off from that website. So there's one more thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. I told you before that constellations were often based on Greek mythology, so I thought you guys might like to hear a little story about them. So you guys remember I pointed out Cassiopeia, which is this W, and I told you that she was a queen. So let me show you a pretty artist rendition of what Cassiopeia looked like. So this is Cassiopeia, and you can see she's sitting in her throne. So Cassiopeia was a queen of a seafaring village. So this is what is called a Greek myth, which means that it is a story that people used to believe. So she was the queen of a seafaring village, and she had a daughter whose name was Andromeda. And Andromeda is actually, which I don't have a picture of her, but what's cool about her is if you look at Pegasus, her constellation is right at the bottom of Pegasus. So sometimes when I look at Pegasus, I think that it looks like Pegasus's back legs, but it's actually Andromeda. So Andromeda was the princess of the seafaring kingdom. And back in these days, in mythology, of course, there were a lot of Greek gods. And Greek gods sometimes would get jealous, or they would do all kinds of things and they would smite humans. So, which smite means they would hurt them. So Queen Cassiopeia, what she did was she would brag and brag, say that she and her daughter Andromeda were more beautiful than the gods. And if you know anything about Greek mythology, you know that the gods probably did not like this. So one goddess in particular, whose name was Aphrodite, or the goddess of love and beauty, she became very jealous that these humans thought that they could be more beautiful than her. So she went and complained to Poseidon because she knew that this kingdom was on the sea. And Poseidon is the god of the sea. And she said, Poseidon, you have to do something about these humans because they are saying that they are more beautiful than us, more beautiful than me. And Poseidon said, well, okay, I'll do something about it. So Poseidon sent Cetus. This is what Cetus looks like. And Cetus was a great sea monster. And if we look here, Cetus is right there. And Poseidon sent Cetus after this town, and Cetus started destroying ships and all kinds of mayhem on this fishing kingdom, right? So the people in the town said, we have to do something about this. So Queen Cassiopeia was like, I know what we can do to appease the gods. Let's sacrifice my daughter Andromeda. Which, you guys think that she was a very good mother for doing that? Probably not. So what she did was she chained Andromeda to the rocks on the sea cliffs for Cetus to eat, thinking that that would please the gods. Which, you know, maybe it did, but luckily a demigod heard about this. So do you know what a demigod is? So a demigod is like Hercules, or which means, if you know anything about Hercules, he is the son of a god and a mortal. So the demigod who went after them was a demigod, and his name was Perseus. As you can see here, and Perseus was a very famous Greek hero. So he had the winged shoes of Hermes, and he also had the head of the lady with snakes. I'm trying to think, oh no, I've forgotten her name. Oh no, it's terrible. But he also had Pegasus. And what he would do is he took this head of the Gorgon, and what she would do is her eyes would turn anyone who looked into them into stone. So he held this up to Cetus, and he turned Cetus to stone using the head of Medusa. That's her name. So Medusa is the lady with snakes for hair, and she had a stare that could turn someone to stone, and Perseus had once defeated her. And he had chopped off her head to use as a weapon. And he turned Cetus to stone, and Cetus sunk to the bottom of the ocean. And the gods decided to reward this, so he put Cetus and Pegasus, who was Perseus's horse, and he put Andromeda and Perseus, everyone in the stars, but he also put Cassiopeia in the stars. And do you think he did that to reward her? No, he did it to punish her, and I will show you how. So if you look, and we remember that this is always spinning because the Earth is spinning on its axis, so the sky appears to spin. So if you look at Cassiopeia here, and we watch, you can see that the W is always changing directions. So what would happen is some of the night, Cassiopeia would be upright on her throne, but then as the night continues on, she starts to spill out of it, and then she has to hold on by her very fingertips or she will fall out of the sky. And that's the story of Cassiopeia and Andromeda and Pegasus, and one of the stories of the hero Perseus. And that's why they all made it as constellations. So thank you guys so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed my story and also these activities.
Thanks, Emma. And now we go from Cassiopeia to our buddy Mitch to learn why elephants need the sun. Take it away, Mitch.
Hello, my name is Mitch Klaus. I am a STEM ambassador for WVU Extension, and I also am a student at West Virginia University. Today we're going to read a book called Why Do Elephants Need the Sun? And it's going to kind of tie into the activity and the kit that I will explain a little bit later, but I'm going to go ahead and start the book. So why do elephants need the sun? There are trillions of stars in the universe. Our sun is one of them. The sun looks bigger and brighter to us than other stars because it's the closest star to Earth. The sun is a huge fiery gas ball. It radiates or sends warmth and light from 93 million miles away. That's more than a million Earths could fit inside it. Compared to the sun, Earth would be about this size, super tiny. Plants and animals all over the world depend on the sun's energy to live. Elephants certainly do. They need the sun to keep warm and to help grow the food that they eat. A male African elephant is Earth's biggest land animal. It can weigh as much as a truck. Trucks need lots of fuel, so do elephants. Some elephants eat 400 pounds of plants every single day. Plants need food too, but with the help of the sun, plants can make their own food. They do this by photosynthesis. It works like this. Inside leaves is a green pigment called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll absorbs or takes in sunlight. Carbon dioxide, a gas in the air, enters through the leaves, and water is drawn from the ground by the plant's roots. Chlorophyll, using the sun's energy, helps transform the water and carbon dioxide into a sugar called glucose. And that's the food that plants need to live and grow. In photosynthesis, the water inside plants splits into two parts, which is hydrogen and oxygen. The oxygen part is not needed, and it is released into the air. And animals and people breathe in that oxygen. Then they breathe out carbon dioxide, and plants use it to make more glucose. When people and animals eat plants, they use the glucose for their own energy. Plants and animals are truly life partners, helped along by the sun. Animals need to drink water just as plants do, especially elephants. A thirsty elephant may drink 50 gallons of water a day. The hot sun can dry up a water hole and help fill it up again. But how? The sun's heat evaporates ocean water, and that turns it into water vapor. Then that water vapor rises and forms clouds, leaving the salt behind. The sun warms the air more in some places than others. When the warm air rises, the cool air rushes in to take its place, and that causes wind. Wind blows clouds over land, and water falls as rain or snow. Some of the rain will fall onto grassy savannas where elephants live, and some will flow into the water holes where elephants drink. Water will soak into the ground and help plants grow so elephants can eat. Gravity helps the sun create its amazing energy. But what is gravity? Gravity is one of nature's forces. It pulls on everything in the universe. If you throw a ball up, it comes back down. Earth's strong gravity easily pulls the ball forward toward the ground. The more material or mass an object has, the more gravity pulls on it. That's why an elephant weighs so much more than a baboon. Earth's gravity pulls on the elephant, with much more force. The sun's gravity is much, much stronger than Earth's because the sun has greater mass. The sun's powerful gravity holds all 8 planets in their orbits, keeping them from flying off into the cold darkness of space. How does gravity help the sun generate energy? The sun is not solid like Earth. It's made up of mostly hydrogen gas. Gravity pushes on the sun's surface and compresses the hydrogen gas inside, causing the hydrogen atoms to heat up. Over the years, people have devised ways to use the sun for many purposes, like telling time, the sundial. A black tank absorbs the sun's heat, which heats water in the tank, as you can see right here. You can use the sun to dry clothes, or you can heat water for household use. The sun's heat also creates the wind for wind turbines to generate electricity. The wind turns the blades, which spins a generator. When we look up at the night sky, we can see some of the trillions of stars in the universe. No one could ever count them all, but not one of them is more important to us than our very own star, the sun. And that's the end of the book. So anyways, that book relates to the exercise, or I guess kit, that the Mylan STEMCARE Try This at Home experiment for UV beads, because UV beads deal a lot with the sun. And if you have one of these kits at home, you can follow along with this book. There's step-by-step instructions and a lot of explanations in here that you can just kind of read along as I go over them. But in this kit, there will be, inside this plastic baggie, you'll have a booklet. And then you'll have some UV beads and a string. Now, the main thing that you want to do with these is you can make them into a bracelet and put them on your wrist, like the one I have right here. And you can make this however you want. You can use any style, you can use different types of string, but the important thing is that you use these beads, because although they're clear right now, as you can see right here, when you take these beads out into the sunlight, they will change colors. But how does this happen? It's kind of strange to see that, but there's actually some science behind it. So these beads are sensitive to ultraviolet light. And ultraviolet light is much different from any light that we see nowadays. Well, many different types of light that we see usually around our homes and stuff, like lights from a ceiling or from your phone or anything like that are not ultraviolet light. Ultraviolet light comes from the sun. And it is actually very dangerous, and it's what causes sunburns on people. But these beads are special because they have a chemical compound inside of them. And when they're clear, you can think of the compound looking something like this. This is just a representation. But when the light hits them, it changes to something different. When it will break a bond inside of the structure and it'll change into a different molecule. When that happens, the color will change too, and the beads that you put on your bracelet will turn into blue or violet or orange, and that's just from exposing them to the sunlight. So you can use these to make bracelets or an anklet or a necklace or anything like that. If you are interested in this activity or other activities that may be similar to this, you can visit the STEMCARE website to look for more information and stuff that's related to that. But thank you for joining.
Hey Energy Express friends, did you have a fun day? I know I did. Well, we'll see you again soon for more fun and more activities. Have a good one. Bye-bye.